brilliant. So what are you currently doing in your career, and what projects are you actually working on right now?
Yeah, so right now, mainly, well, this 2019, at the end of 2019, I started my own online business about music education. That's something that it's been really a passion of mine, not only the music itself, but educating, having the opportunity to be from Peru and go to Berklee at a time where going to study music from Peru wasn't like common. And actually I had a lot of social fights to actually be able to go and study music. But in the end, I love it. I mean, my parents were super happy, like they supported me, and I'm super thankful. But one of the things is that I had access to an amazing education that I know a lot of people back home with the same or more talent, they don't. So to me, I've always liked music education, and since I was studying, I've been, and the other side of me is to be an academic geek. I love not only the music, but I love to really explain it. Hey, this is the harmony, to really get into how these awesome subjects can become art, that sort of thing.
And the history and the culture, the history, the culture, the background. So are you, when you say music education, what do you mean exactly? What's happening, for example?
So I started developing my own ebooks about improvisation. I started collecting, I use social media, especially Instagram. I started using it to just kind of promote my music, but also show, hey, it started to get very popular to have a lot of musicians or influencers giving tips. It's like I would have loved that when I was 18 to see somebody kind of like what I'm doing now, just showing all of this stuff, because you can learn so much. There wasn't that back then.
That didn't exist before, did it? Exactly. So does that mean that you might post things? You might post things on Instagram, tips or cultural things or historical. Like, you're doing quite a lot of that. You're doing a lot of that.
It started with tips about improvisation, sharing my solos, putting sheet music out there. Then I started doing my ebooks because people were asking me, hey, do you sell these things? Like, well, I might as well sell, make some money out of this too, but on a fair, way. And then I started having a lot of online students, and I started developing my courses. And right now I have 4 online courses. I have all these ebooks. I have an online store, and
that's amazing, Lorenzo. I had no idea. So what is it? What is that? That's like what's an ebook, for example? What's the title of one of your ebooks?
For example, I have a bunch of ebooks. One of them is Saxophone Solo Series, but it's not actually, there's not much text on it. It's actually just about, there's specific things. So one is solo, some of the solos that I've written and taken the time to build awesome solos that people sometimes are looking for transcriptions and see ways of how can improvisation is a big thing for me. That's one of the things that made me fall in love with jazz, and that's what I teach. I have a jazz etudes book. I have a bunch of books on my website, which is called Tone Alley Academy.
Okay, great. Wow. And that's going really well.
It's right now, it is, especially with, here's the thing with COVID, downside where a lot of gigs got canceled. So I did suffer from it, live events being completely shut down. But on the other side, I enhanced my digital world. I was already doing this online. So if COVID hits and everybody's on their computer, I'm going to start doing more content, making more products. And I started even taking all of the stuff I never learned, like marketing, but not just the traditional marketing, like how it's working now, with social media and this. How can I really promote and be a musician entrepreneur, and also
absolutely. I mean, it's adapting, isn't it, to the realities of what's going on. I mean, do you find that opens up another world, Lorenzo, of people, let's say, on the other side of the world even?
100%. Since I've been doing this, and I've even now that I've been doing this for 3 years, I've gotten a name out there of being sort of an education influencer as well, because a lot of people have gone through my books and courses, and they get a lot out of it, which makes me really happy. And also they get to know me, and I've had beautiful relationships now with people students from India and from Europe, from Latin America.
They tend to be university or pre-university or teens or slightly older. What's the sort of age group
from everything. I've had some high school, like if in the US there's a lot of because high school there's a big music thing with jazz, so there's a lot of high school students. But also I've had some retired guys like 60 years old and they've played for 20 years, but now they finally have the time. And I've and I've taught those students too, and then middle age, like from everything really,
So that's been really successful. I mean, that's another arrow in your bow. Now, that's another thing that you're doing, which you've adapted to COVID. That's amazing, huh?
Oh, thankfully it was happening before COVID. So when COVID hit, I just enhanced it. And one of the things for me, it's, I wanted to stop having a boss.
Right, you want to be independent.
I saw so many people being, the self-employment thing, but also being an entrepreneur and you can manage your time. And the fact that you can now make money from your house. And for me, it's like, okay, this is great because I can share something. I'm not selling it on like an insane price. And then I get access to all of the students. And it's also, I get so much better out of teaching and creating this content. I've like really gotten a lot better as a musician.
The school, Newton, is going to be different post-pandemic than before. We want to make the school more like a learning community and less like a school. Like a conventional school, we're trying Absolutely. To like have much more open spaces and independence and passions being followed, of which Newton has many strengths because it's a large campus where you can do lots of different things with lots of different experts.
Absolutely. I mean, it just makes sense. The world is changing so much. The education has to as well. It has to move forward with, especially now, because to me, like I remember when I left at 18 years old, there wasn't this virtual access to all this information. And now it's like you can be 18 years old and if you want to, I'm not saying it's irrelevant, but if you can actually learn a lot if you want to be a musician without going to like an inexpensive music college. Hey, I want to buy this $100 course here and this is there. And all of a sudden you have all this information of people that have already gathered the experience. And instead of making you go through that, it's like, hey, here's one of my courses is called Mastering Melody. The idea is that here's 10 years of what I've learned. Well, maybe.
Yeah, and that's from a Latin Grammy winner. You're sharing your experience, and for a fee, they can get access to that 10 years.
And they can get access to it anywhere in the world. And it's like, hey, I'm showing you things that I learned in this lesson at Berklee while being there and paying expensive rent, right? But I've learned here, but I've also learned in my experience playing here. So it's like now you can get people that have had 10 years of experience and compress it into a 3-hour course.
That's great. And if I ask you, Lorenzo, was there any moments or experiences that happened at Newton that lit your passion for your current career, for music, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where music started, because I started playing clarinet when I was 12, and which was, I don't remember what grade I'm supposed to be when I'm 12, but
I think it's grade 6.
Grade 6, right? Yes, I started the clarinet with Claudio Panta, who was like such a great person to me, like a great teacher. And he, of course, there wasn't a lot of the jazz on Newton, but they had all the classical, and I really got in touch with I really wanted to play wind instruments. And he helped me a lot, and I started loving music there, also from my house, because my dad listened to so much classical music too, So I was bringing that, and definitely Newton helped me.
When you started playing the clarinet at 12, let's say, in grade 6, did you think, hey, I love this. I know I love this.
I loved it. I loved music. At that given point, I still wasn't good. So I realized there's that point where we're all in that point at the beginning stages where you love it, but you're not good because you're just fresh on it. And it's like I wanted to get better, but it sometimes if you're anxious like me, it can be frustrating, because you want to move fast.
You engage with Claudio Panta, you engage with the clarinet, you wanted to improve and learn.
And I did, and I'm thankful. Of course, sometimes the people that start playing when they were 4 years old, but I still, young enough to start and really build my passion so much. I started playing, becoming good at it. Then it's later on that I switched to the saxophone, like when I was 16, I think Form 4. So, but yeah, no, Newton was very, very it's like the beginning of my music career began there,
It's great, isn't it, when if you can find a student like yourself, a young person who can find their flame, their passion some way, and then it sparks off later on, as your life goes on. That's really what a school or a learning environment should search to do, no?
Absolutely. It's not force or push students to do specific things, but also art is so important, like it's as important as math. All what the art does is it's really not teaching you art, it's becoming a better human. I know it sounds like platonic, but it really makes you sensitive. Like it really, like learning arts, learning music, it makes you a better person, like more.
And we have courses, Lorenzo, like art as therapy in the world now. I mean, art can be healing as well.
Yes, and also we're talking about a ever-changing world that technology is becoming so, like, it's actually taking a lot of jobs that will not exist, right? With now that you can take professional photos with your iPhone, right now you can do all of these things that later on the irreplaceable careers will be the creative careers, right? The irreplaceable ones will be the arts and everything that requires creativity, because a machine will never be able to do that. So I think it's important to push education towards how to be creative, even in something that you would think there's not creativity, like how to push creativity and not just train students to be mechanical.
What advice would you give to somebody who was 11 or 12 or 13, or teenager at Newton, who is listening to this and thinking, how do I find my way forward here in the passion that I have in music, for example?
Right. I think at that point, you're at the age where everything is so fresh, and you just have to really keep doing it and get better at it and get that. Like for me, it's a very different time, because when I was 13, the concept of being a musician in Peru was almost inexistent, like that's a very important point, because even my parents, it took me a year to convince them, right? It took me.
They were saying, no, can't do that.
Until Form 4, I thought I was going to study law, just because that's what I saw. I didn't, nobody put in my mind the possibility of art as a career. So I was like, okay, I love music, but I guess it's not a career. So, and that's something that it's a social thing, right? Even in all of the world, but it's been something in Peru that's more of the old-fashioned closed-minded, right? That you have to be a lawyer, you have to be this and that. And I think we're at the moment where right now I've happily seen my country open up so much to the arts, just because of the economy and everything building up. I've seen now being a musician is a completely different thing right now.
Which is great, isn't it?
It's amazing. So I think my encouragement would be do it. And if you feel you love music at 13, but you're still doubting because, my dad isn't, I don't know, a lawyer.
My dad doesn't necessarily agree, let's say. What would you say? What should they do?
Then they should push through the passion, and actually the fact that my dad didn't agree, he loved music. So eventually it happened and it was great. But you just have to, in fact, that made my desire stronger. Because it's like, now I have friction. Now I have it's like, I wanted more. So, that burning desire is really important. I think it's time for people to do what they love.
And what's the importance, Lorenzo? You mentioned practice. When I asked you the advice you give, how important is, an athlete, a professional athlete, practices at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, when everybody else is sleeping, for example. A musician is hours behind the scenes. How important is practice linked to success, do you think, in whatever you do?
It's 100% important. It's extremely, extremely important. And the earlier you can do it, the better, that's one of the things when I've had students that they're now older and they're starting older. They can do it, but they're lacking all those years that even 10 minutes a day for 20 years.
It's a long time. It's a lot of hours.
4 hours. I'm talking about the 10,000 hours thing, right?
10,000 hours.
It accumulates. I tell some students that they don't have time. It's like, just try your 15 minutes a day. I'm not even saying an hour. Just do it. Have it there. Play. Keep it going. It's just the continuity of it. It's certainly extremely important, and especially with high school and it can get stressful because you get so much homework from this and that. But if you like arts, you need to give it. This is my opinion. You need to give it the same importance as the math homework, right?
Yeah.
So if you love if you don't like it, it's okay. But if you really love music and you're gonna do your math homework, you might as well spend the same time practicing. It's just, even if you don't become a musician, it's gonna nurture you like crazy, So I think it's just about time to give the arts, especially if you like them, the same importance, because it's just gonna to me, it made me a more sensible person, and of course, it became my career. But I think that's a good point that I'd like to make.
Are you prolific as a songwriter, stroke producer, production? Are you prolific? Would you say?
Yeah. You mean in the projects I'm doing?
In your own music creation, are you?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of music that you're creating at the moment, for example?
Yes. Right. Well, right now I'm kind of, at the first part of the year, I put a lot of energy to the online business because I want that to grow. But right now I'm all about working on I have like 3 albums. One is already coming out, and 2 that are on the go. One of a big band. Like I have a lot of things. Actually, one of them is this is like Latin jazz big band album that I'm doing for Audio Network. It's a British library of music, really known, and we're gonna record all the brass in Abbey Road Studios.
Oh my goodness! Wow, what a great project!
So that's gonna be. I'm super excited for that because actually they're sponsoring everything, and it's the library music is music that you do, and they put an album and they license it to TV and film. So
that's really, right. Yeah,
so I'm really happy, and I might actually be able to go to London to record. So that's really
Wouldn't that
great.
be incredible? I mean, have you been to the UK? Have you been?
Yeah.
Been over
I love London's one of my favorites. Me and my wife's favorite city. So actually, I almost moved to London before LA. Nobody knows that, but I was very close to it. Yeah, I love it. So I have a bunch of projects like that, and you'll be hearing about them for sure in the next year.
Well, listen, Lorenzo, I have to say it's been a great pleasure talking to you. I'm so glad that I got in contact with you as part of this. It's been quite inspiring listening to your plans. I had no idea about that educational wing, and I'm so happy to hear about that. Number one, because I think it's great to, like you said, see the sparkle as an educator, see the sparkle in people's eyes when they understand and learn something new. And number two, because also it's a route for as you mentioned, like entrepreneurship and actually in this COVID world, having a business, which is great. And I hope to hear that grows as well as your actual music production and creation, Lorenzo. So thank you so much for your time. It's been really great talking to you.
No, thank you so much, Richard. I really appreciate it. And I'm super happy to do this. And thank you so much for your time. And whenever you want, I'm happy to help in any ways I can.
Okay, well, have a great day. And thanks for your time, Lorenzo, okay? See you later.
You too. Thank you so much, Richard. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Thanks, bye.